Hi, welcome back to another episode of Direct Edition. I'm your host, Dave, the guy who talks. And today I'm presenting you the return of Erik Larsen. That's right, my second interview with the comics legend, Image Comics founder, Savage Dragon creator, an all-around good guy. This interview took place during DavengerCon, which was the 2-day streaming event on my YouTube channel, and it was basically an online comic convention curated by me. It was a lot of fun to have him back. For some of you that don't know, I actually got Erik to join kind of last minute, the weekend before, because there were a couple of cancellations due to the death of Ed Piskor. I had to pivot and get some new guests for the con. It was extremely stressful, and once he said yes, everything just kind of fell into place. We speak about a little bit of everything. This time we had live questions from the audience. One of the best moments, there's several very good moments of this interview. One of them will make you laugh when Erik does his imitation of Todd McFarlane. And then one, I chose to leave it in. I showed him some artwork that was his from when he was about 18 or 19 years old. And he really had a lot of fun cringing at it. But because it was live, I think he did it all in good fun. And then towards the end, there's a great moment where one of the chat asks a question about AI, and Erik shares some really good insight into that as well. And before we get going, I just want to say thanks. We are on our 18th episode, nearing 20, and things are moving along swimmingly. Thank you to the new subscribers and the old subscribers. And if you are just hearing this for the first time, please do subscribe and rate the podcast. So coming up next week, you'll hear a new episode with original content. So if you've heard this before, well, sit back and enjoy it again. And if this is new to you, enjoy my second interview, Erik Larsen. To Erik Larsen. All right, everybody, without further ado, we're going to bring on the Savage, Erik Larsen.
All right.
How you doing, Erik?
I'm hanging in there.
I was explaining to people our last interview. I converted it to my podcast episode, and I called it the Savage Erik Larsen because why not? Why not?
All right.
Well, thanks for doing this. Thanks for taking a little time out of your Sunday to be a part of this. Now we are at hour 7.5 of a 2-day stream. So,
oh boy.
I've been marathoning it. I talked to, we had Matt Wagner on earlier today, Derek Kim on yesterday. So yeah, we're having a good time. Nice. So how are things with you? What issue are we working on right now?
I'm still working on 270, which disappoints me as well, honestly. I'd like to be further along than I am. But,
right. Well, 269 came out, what was it, a couple weeks ago, or was it 268 that came out a couple weeks ago? I get my numbers mixed up.
269 is out, and yeah, it came out a little bit ago. So I should have been done with 270, and I am not.
All right. Well,
it's just my process is not to be admired.
Well, I mean,
I've somehow managed to get this pile of comics done over the years, but the whole process of getting stuff out and to market and plotting this stuff out is it's just madness. This is no way to do anything.
Well, you can. I mean, we're better off though that you're still doing it, because you're still that guy who's got his voice attached to this book and his art attached to this book, and it hasn't been given off to anybody else, as we've watched.
Yeah, I don't want to read somebody else's Savage Dragon, honestly. That's kind of where I'm at with it. It's like, oh, that's not the way he looks. That's not the way he sounds. Hell.
Yeah, he's not 9 feet. He's 5'10".
Yeah, right. Whatever. Come on, guys, get it together.
So I want to talk about something that's recent in that you had once the public domain Mickey Mouse became a thing. You put him in the
Mhm.
book, but 271, it looks like he's going to be the main antagonist. Is that what's going on?
Oh, he's at least on the cover. We'll we'll see when we get there. I think it's going to be somewhat. It'll be between him and other characters. It's not just going to be 20 pages of slugfest with Mickey Mouse.
Right, right. Um, that led me down a little research hole because obviously I know that you're big into you know bringing a lot of characters in, and you are a big comics history buff. But there was a project you did called the Next Issue Project. Can you explain that a little bit? Because I'm just learning about it very recently.
Oh, really? Yeah, no, those were that was a situation where we just took books that had been completely abandoned and were in the public domain, and we just did the
Mhm.
next issue of them. So we sent out copies as best we could find, JPEGs of here's the previous issue, take it, and we got some interesting things that they sold like crap, absolutely terrible. But it was a fun project. But I wish I could have had everybody be rewarded with big fat thick dollar bills. But the
Yeah,
unfortunate thing is we chose a format that it's like, well, let's have it be the golden age size, and let's do all this other stuff to try and make it seem right. And it was just way too expensive to print, really.
yeah.
And and then so everybody didn't get a big pile of dough at the end of it, and it was like, it's hard to get people on board to do stuff like that when there's no pot at the end of the rainbow sort of thing. So,
Well,
oh well.
and last time we talked about Kung Fu Bible Stories and
Mhm.
Herculean, which are two other pieces that you kind of had the same thing. Is there a point that maybe even also with certain Dragon projects, is there a point where maybe crowdfunding the weird special projects might be the like something to look into? Is that
It
something
might
that you
be.
yeah.
I just don't. I don't know how to do any of that stuff. I'm an old man.
Yeah. Well, okay.
That's
All right.
that's for the kids, I don't know how to do it. I don't have any really desire to do it. I don't want to really do those little films that people make where they're all, come on, help me out, Betty, sort of thing. And
Well,
just, this is the way I do things. We solicit books, we put them out,
sure.
they come out.
Well, maybe one day we can at least get somebody to pressure you. I mean, I'm talking to Matt Wagner today, and him and Kelly Jones are doing those 4 Dracula books, and they dropped the first Kickstarter for it last year, and I'm really excited for that. But that it just seems to be one of those ways to get people to
Yeah,
or
it,
people to fund those weird dream projects or something like that.
that's true. I
Yeah,
mean, I
it's
know I know it can work, but mostly I just want to do my goddamn book.
yeah,
So
of course, of
all
course.
this other stuff and every little other thing just kind of takes time and energy away from doing what I want to do, which is just making comic books.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
it's
of
like,
course.
do you want to spend time packaging stuff and mailing it out? No, I do not. Do I want to get organized so you get some house that can do all the heavy stuff? Whatever. It's like, God, no, it's all just this. I want a hassle-free existence, really, is what it comes down to. And
100%.
this process that I've got where I draw a comic, send it out, and then draw the next one has been working pretty well for me for the last, I don't know, 32 years.
Mhm.
So I just kind of want to continue to do that. And are there better ways of doing it? Probably, but
Sure. Well, you're comfortable doing what you're comfortable doing what you do, and that's very important because you don't wanna be uncomfortable doing what you do. That's no fun.
No, yeah, yeah. I
You know?
mean, I started off, as a little kid, just kind of drawing my own comics for my own enjoyment,
Yeah.
and and there was no filter there at all. I was just, prepubescent kid going up through puberty and doing all that suddenly, and nobody ever saw that stuff. So I kind of felt like I can do anything. It doesn't matter. And they were pretty messed up, really. And then
Well,
now that I'm an older man, it's like I'm kind of going back to that where I'm just going, whatever. Who cares? I can do whatever the hell I want. I'm in
that's right.
charge.
Oh.
So
And
yeah, so there ends up
you
being more of
you've
that.
you've done a lot of that, and you've put together some of the most special, like, packages inside Savage Dragon issues. I was flipping through 200, 250, the 100, the 100-page ones you did. They're just chock full of, like, every little thing. It's full. And so,
Yeah, yeah,
like that, nobody does that. Nobody. They haven't done that since the 60s or
no, no,
70s.
no, I know. No, well, that's the thing. As I grew up during that time, so
Mhm.
all of that stuff seemed awesome to me.
Yeah.
And DC would do these 100-page super spectaculars, and Marvel was doing their 52-page or 68-page, whatever they were doing, and it
Yeah.
just seemed like this is a cool way of making comics. And those anniversary issues were always special to me. So the idea of, hey, now that you're in charge, you can do whatever the hell you want. Okay, yeah, I want to do square bound. I like having a 100-page square bound comic, not stapled
Mhm.
up the side. So
Yeah.
does it
Yeah.
cost way more to do it that way? Yeah, hell yeah, it does. But I just want I want what I want. So
Yeah, and it's unique. I mean, speaking with Derek Kirk Kim yesterday, he's been releasing the Last Mermaid with Image, and it's that 10-inch, 8-inch by 8-inch square shape that fits in a magazine box. And he was saying how Eric Stevenson basically said, like, "Sure you want to do it this way?" He said, "Yeah,"
yeah,
but
yeah, no, I
it's
mean all that stuff. It's like I can do it any way I want to, and then you do it, and then you're like, oh crap, that didn't make a lot of money. If the
yeah.
goal is to make a lot of money, sometimes these decisions aren't the wisest decisions.
Hmm.
And that can be an unfortunate thing too, because people can come out and go, okay, finally I'm going to do my vanity project, and then they'll come out and then they'll go, oh, I made no money doing that. I guess it's back to knocking at DC's door or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's too bad that you chose something that was so goddamn uncommercial to do your, your one swing at the fences, and you're like, holy
But
crap, man.
that I mean, does some of the responsibility, I mean, is it okay to say some of the responsibility also falls on the reader and the retailer? It's not, like,
Oh, yeah,
we
yeah, no,
every
it's all hand in hand, where there's a
yeah,
huge, bunch of things that should be working together. Retailers often don't take huge risks on stuff. And and for a lot of stores, these books just don't exist.
yeah,
It's like you go into the stores and it's like, hey, do you have the latest issue of whatever? I don't want to put anybody in a bad place, but they're just like, oh yeah, we didn't think anybody wanted that, so we didn't order
yeah.
a bunch of them, or we didn't order any of them. We just got next issue project for anybody who's got it on their pull list. We didn't get it for the shelves. It's like, well, holy crap, man, that's an issue one. You didn't think of doing something with that?
Yeah, yeah,
Whatever.
it is a bummer sometimes. Like, I for years, and I think we spoke about it before. For years, I couldn't, Spawn wasn't on the stands anymore. Like, nobody was ordering it. And then, Savage Dragon is kind of the same way. I I will give a huge shout out to Portland Cosmic Monkey. they have your books regularly on their shelves, and you can get them there. And I'm, yeah. But it is, and I'm pretty sure Olympic Comics and Cards also has your books on a when they come out. But yeah, I think we all share a little responsibility for, also we should speak up when there's a great book worth
Yeah,
reading.
yeah. When there's
So that's
something that you want and the store doesn't carry it, it's like, get me this. I need it now.
Yeah.
I'm blessed here because I've got 2 comic stores within walking distance and 3 other stores that are an easy short drive, that if there's something that I can't live without, I can usually find it somewhere.
Yeah. The Bay Area is in general, not just San Francisco, but the Bay Area is a gold mine of comic stores.
Yeah, that's pretty
It
good.
really is. Yeah. Yeah. We're lucky on the West Coast in general. Speaking of comic stores and collecting, have you put together a full run of the Captain Marvel books that you've always wanted, like, to replace the collection that you lost? Like, are you a completist in that way?
I need to make a list of whatever issues I don't have, because there are a few I don't have. The thing is, I didn't get the first 7 issues because they're terrible.
Yeah.
And also the most expensive, like, I probably will try and find the first issue of Captain Marvel Adventures, just because, it's Simon and Kirby, but it's just clearly done over a weekend and just not a good thing. But I've got most from through 150, whatever it is, whatever it ended on. So awesome. I've got most of that. I've got some of the some Wiz, not complete by any means, but it's hard to justify some of that because they're super expensive, and you get one Captain Marvel story. So my tendency is to go Marvel Family and Captain Marvel Adventures, and try to get as many of those as I can find.
Yeah, because as years go on, they are harder.
Yeah, they're not getting any cheaper. That's for sure. And I've got the first Wiz, so that one is sort of a
that's a big.
That was a big one. And then I've got the last ones, and then I've got just a few in between, but not nearly as many Wiz. Mostly Captain Marvel Adventures and Marvel Family, but I have more issues than I had pre-Fire.
Right. Okay.
So pre-Fire, I think my dad had maybe 50 issues of a 150 issue run.
Wow.
And I think I've probably got 120 to 130 issues.
Okay. Oh, wow. Yeah, I mentioned to Matt Wagner today about CC Beck, because I see a lot of it in early Mage, and then told him I was speaking to you, and he said he was at Comic-Con when you bought that first issue. He said you showed it to him.
Oh, good God. Yeah, that was how do I explain this to the wife when I get home?
Yeah, well, that is a dicey thing to tell your significant other.
Somehow I managed to avoid it, and she still doesn't know I have it.
I won't say anything. Don't watch this. Don't watch this.
Yeah, she won't. Our worlds are so removed from each other. It's obviously, I think if you read my book, it's like, okay, clearly your wife's not reading this.
Yeah. That is very true. Better off that way.
I kind of count on friends and family not reading my work. So
yeah. Well,
every now and then somebody brings something up, and I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, with my podcast, sometimes I'll start going off on a rant. I'm like, I hope my parents aren't watching this. Uh, so I wanted to ask you. So, like a couple months ago, you were on the podcast talking about Wizard Magazine. It was a Wizard podcast, and they had
Mhm.
mentioned, obviously, famously, you did the issue 3 with Wolverine, and that did come out way after your Marvel Comics Present stuff. So I imagine that's what they saw. But what surprised me is they didn't mention the fact that the first thing you did for that Wizard 3 book was this Lobo cover. And
Yeah, I was
they
going to do Lobo.
right,
I was
right.
gonna do a Lobo miniseries, which Keith Giffen ended up doing, called
Mhm.
Lobo Infanticide, and he had done. He always would draw his plots out, so he'd send me the plot for the first issue. But at that point, uh, I'd finished my run on Spider-Man. Marvel had approved Nova as a miniseries,
Right.
and then DC had offered up this Lobo miniseries. So I was like, well, I don't have any firm commitment, so I might as well try doing something at this Image outfit, see how that goes.
Mhm.
I don't. I
Worked
mean,
out.
we make it sound like it was way more permanent, and screw you guys, we're
Yeah,
leaving. Uh, After the fact than it was really at the time, because at the time it was kind of, well, I got this other gig here, and Rob wanted to continue doing X Force and have Marat pencil it, I think.
yeah,
Maybe he was going to do layouts. And then I think Valentino wanted to somehow be able to continue on Guardians of the Galaxy.
right.
But Marvel, as soon as we had made their announcement, Marvel was kind of, fuck these guys. And,
Yeah,
let's push them out the door even further, and to their detriment, really.
seriously. Yep.
Because I think had it been more cordial, that there may have been more uh, of us kind of just, all right, well, let me do a little bit of this and a little bit of that and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I
it
still love
it
the
bit
characters, and had a good time when I was there. So
but it definitely bit them on the ass because like you said, eventually, obviously, Rob and Jim went back to Marvel. You went back to Marvel and did Wolverine and Defenders
mhm.
and Spider-Man, but you're right, if that gap hadn't have been there, also, who knows if Marvel's business would have ever took the downswing? It might have just kind of stayed
Yeah,
where it was,
yeah, you
you
never
know?
know. Never know what would have happened. It'd been a
Yeah, it's a
different situation.
somebody needs to do a what if issue.
Yeah,
What
what
if
if the
we
Image
never
Comics
left?
guys were way more chicken shit than they were?
Is it safe to say that what your Lobo book would have been kind of just got channeled into what Dragon was, like the bombastic action, or was
Yeah, no, I
Dragon?
wasn't writing it at all. I wasn't writing
Oh,
it at
you
all.
aren't.
It was
Okay,
no, it was
different.
working off of Keith Giffen's layouts.
Okay,
I would have just been the guy drawing it.
okay,
So there's no relation to what I did in Savage Dragon whatsoever.
okay.
It just would have been a different thing.
And
So,
was because I've heard you kind of say it, but I wasn't sure in the tone that you said it. Was there another book? Let's say Dragon you just did the 3 issues and that was it. Was there another idea that you had for a book in early Image that you never did because you obviously just took off with Dragon?
I had kind of told myself early on that if I ever started doing Dragon as a comic, that I would never stop doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
So I kind of didn't want the rest of my career to start then and there.
Hmm.
So initially, I had thought that I would do Super Patriot to begin with, and
Okay,
then I just had more Dragon ideas than I had Super Patriot ideas. So
right. And Super Patriot was
you
here
know,
and there, and he was in and out of it.
yeah, I might as well lead with your strongest character and what have you. So Oh,
Worked out
well.
pretty well. Yeah, worked out pretty well. All right, a
But there
couple of
was things where I had been talking to folks at Marvel prior to us going our separate ways,
Mhm.
and I had pitched doing the Hulk at one point, and they didn't bite on that. And I had pitched, I at least talked to them about the possibility of doing the Fantastic Four, and that didn't come to pass. So, but if either of those had been, hey, do this,
Yeah,
or if they had said, hey, do Nova as an ongoing book, I probably would have just stayed there and done Nova because I was such a fan of Nova.
yeah. Well, you're a pure comics lover, and Marvel missed out because I know you would have you did Hulk in Defenders. You would have brought some great storytelling to that book through art
Yeah,
and
yeah,
writing. Yeah,
yeah. And there's
we got
still like a pile of Hulk plots or springboards that I've got that are sitting there going, "Oh, I can't use these for anything else." So maybe one day.
you
But
gotta yeah they gotta come knocking again. We got a couple of questions from the chat. Andy Brinning wanted to know if you ever did any other work with Keith Giffen.
well, yeah, I did. I hired him to lay out Super Patriot, and he did 2 Super Patriot miniseries, and he did Freak Force. He did
Quick Force. All right.
17 of the 18 issues of Freak Force. He plotted those, and Victor Bridges did the pencils on those, and I
Awesome. Yeah.
scripted that one.
Keith was
So
amazing.
yeah. Keith was awesome. Keith was awesome, and he was both awesome and a nightmare because he's also one of those guys who would just vanish and you couldn't get a hold of him, and he would give you the lamest excuses as to why he wasn't getting anything done. And his fax machine was constantly breaking, and he was falling down a flight of stairs or whatever. Just
Yeah.
completely transparent bullshit excuse. You knew it was like, Keith, come on, just say you didn't get your act together or you're busy doing something else. But
So yeah.
love
When
the
he
guy, absolutely love the guy, but
yeah.
he's so full of shit. But he's always like, you can't help but be like, I want to work with this guy always because he's so great. But there's
His what he did with it was Trencher, right? Trencher was just
yeah, you did Trencher.
wild. It was wild. I never seen anything like that. At
Well,
that point when I was
that was a situation where I think his thought was, I want to come up with a style that I don't have to pencil.
right.
So he would just kind of do this wacky free form and then keep adding little pieces of weirdness to it so
Mhm.
he could do the pages faster. I don't know. I haven't seen any of the originals, so I don't know
Yeah,
if he was.
I wonder what that looks
Was he
like.
working
Yeah.
big, working small? Who the hell knows? But
All right, we got another question from Tyler, and we got a lot of Spider-Man friends in here. But what was it like following Todd on Spider-Man as far as what you wanted to do art direction wise? And was Marvel asking you what was Marvel asking you to do? Was there any direction at all after that? Or was it just like, Eric, you're great and let you go free because as we talked about last time, it was like so impactful for people my age to get both of those things one after another.
yeah, on Spider-Man, they didn't really give me a whole bunch of stuff. It
Yeah.
was I had done the Doom Patrol about a year earlier, maybe a
Mhm.
year and a half earlier. I followed a guy named Steve Lytle, and
Mhm.
Steve Lytle's style could not be much more different from mine. So
Right.
the issue that where he left off and I took over, that was a bumpy transition where some characters are suddenly put on 60 pounds between panels, and their whole design was radically different. My robot man looked nothing like his, and I just kind of was going, screw you guys, I'm doing what I'm doing. And I think, and the audience was just like, sound of record scratching. They're just like, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah.
So it was a very, very poorly received transition from one to the next, because I hadn't really even been in comics very long. I had just done a couple of little things here and there, mostly fill-in stuff. And this was my first regular DC gig. And so I knew going into Spider-Man, okay, Todd, Steve Lytle was a fan favorite
So
to a degree, but Todd was so much bigger a fan favorite than Steve Lytle could ever possibly hope to be. So when I was following Todd, I was like, I'm going to ease this transition because I've been through this before and this is rough. So, and also thankfully, we've got more things in common stylistically than I did with Steve Lytle. My stuff tends to be a little more expressionistic and a little less realistic. Cartoony is not a word that people like to use, but it kind of fits. Kind of detailed cartoony kind of stuff, but it's much more expressive than that straight realistic stuff that was going on. So following Todd, I was like, all right, what's he doing? I'm going to do the same funky borders. I had drawn an issue of Spider-Man earlier where I was giving him fat webbing. So it's like, I already knew to do that. I was going to do that anyway. But, just in terms of the storytelling approach, do a big Spider-Man figure on a page that, makes it look exciting, and do all these weird borders and do little, whatever this here and there.
Lots of shattered glass.
Yeah. It's just that sort of stuff that made you the hope was that people wouldn't be going, wow, this is so radically different that I hate it. And it seemed to go over relatively well. So
and speaking to the cartoony adjective you used, you were able to put him through the ringer. Like Todd put him through the ringer on Torment, and it was really dark. But when you did it, it felt like it wasn't as heavy, even though the damage was heavy. Like when the Sinister Six one where you shatter his arm and he gets a cybernetic arm, like it and it felt so it was a little bit your Kirby kind of shined through. It was a little bit lighter. It was
a little lighter. I was writing a funnier Spider-Man where he was quipping, and it was just more of a lighthearted book in that regard. If I were to do it again today, it would be a much different approach. But at the time, it seemed like the way to go. Having the Sinister Six go into another dimension and murder everybody was probably a little extreme for them, in retrospect. But at the time, it seemed like an awesome idea.
Well, it was. I want to speak about two things on that. Something that I don't ever hear anybody talk about. There's a pinup at the end of ASM 350, and it's half of you and half of Todd's. Was that piece done specifically for the pinup? Was it something that you guys came up like?
No, it was done for the pinup. It was done for the pinup. The idea, my thought was, people who thought that Todd and I drew the same or whatever. So, and I didn't think that we were really doing the same thing at all. But other people were like, I can't tell the difference. I was like, oh, you guys are idiots. So my thought there was, I'm going to draw my Spider-Man on one side, and you'll draw your Spider-Man on the other side, and then people can compare the two and go, oh yeah, these are pretty different. And then Todd got it, and he was like, oh, I got this story coming up in the Spider-Man book where Spider-Man's wearing the black costume. So I thought I'd give it as a little plug to that. And I was like, and so it wasn't quite the effect that I was going for, because I really wanted like his regular Spider-Man next to my regular Spider-Man.
Sure.
Whatever. It's probably a cooler pinup because he had it be the other costume, because it kind of is pointless otherwise. But that was my thought going into it.
Well, it turned out great, and I have to ask, because did that survive? Did that piece of artwork, is it still alive?
Somebody bought it, so it exists in this world, I believe. I think that's in somebody's collection somewhere.
Good. That's good to know. I mean, we know that, you had
the
fire.
There's stuff that definitely didn't. Issue 15, the fill-in that I did on Todd's book with the Beast. I sold one page of that, and the rest of it is gone. And then there was an issue of X-Force. I was doing a fill-in issue of X-Force. Gone. Completely gone. Every page of that. I've actually put all the pages to that online. I had copies of it in pencil form. So that's on Facebook somewhere. I'm sure you can find it.
All right. And the other one I wanted to ask about was the fill-in issue. Well, it wasn't a fill-in issue. You did finishes over Todd's pencils on Hulk 346 when he finished the Peter David run, and that looks
the cover. He inked my cover.
He inked your cover, and then you did the interior.
Yes, and he had done kind of thumbnails for that, rough thumbnails that he drew, and they had sent me his originals for that. So they were just small little versions of those pages. I made some changes. I didn't go crazy with it, but I wanted to draw the Hulk more, and the Hulk was barely in it. So
I know.
I did I added like a big Hulk, like holding the page or something, and one of them just so I could draw the goddamn guy. But yeah, and then so Todd's pencils on that, the small breakdowns he did, those did burn up in the fire. So those.
It's a shame. It's an interesting book, though. I look at it, and it's your art. It sings with your art instead of his. All right, let's get to this question. So Shay asked, your work looks influenced largely by Kirby and Walt Simonson, but is there a hidden influence that would surprise us, for people that may not know, like somebody that you don't talk about often but influenced your work?
Yeah, I'm not sure who would be a surprise, because I kind of look at my own work and think it's a patchwork of all my influences. Because there's stuff in there where I go, oh, that's clearly a Gil Kane kind of thing. So Gil Kane would be in there. Herb Trimpe would be in there.
Right.
Steve Ditko, of course, with all the Spider-Man stuff, would definitely be in the mix. All the Vane stuff when I first started was all Simon Bisley, just ripping him off. Frank Miller, and I think that's, again, that one seems obvious to me. There's some Byrne-isms that show up every now and then. Trying to think who else would be.
It's interesting.
Not anybody that'd be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. You're looking at it.
Here's something that I just thought of with you saying Byrne-ism. Your signature reminds me of how, like, if you look at not even just your signature when you signed a book, but when it was printed on the book, it kind of reminded me of how Byrne's kind of curves were. And I don't know if that was something that ever seeped in, but I just thinking about it.
I just wanted it to be semi-legible.
Yeah. We have a question from LT. Have you been reading any of the Big Bang comic stuff that's been published in the last few years? Any thoughts on that? If so,
I have not. I haven't seen it. So I don't have any one way or the other.
All right. Fair enough. Fair
So
enough.
sadly, he did.
'Cause
Gary did do a Mighty Man meets Captain Tootsie story, I think,
hmm,
and that ran in Savage Dragon as well. So, uh,
there we go.
so that I like. I always like it when he does Mighty Man. I'm always like, yeah, more of that, please.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Well, you said, I mean, last time we talked, you said he has a bunch of unpublished Megaton stuff too, right?
yeah, there's a bunch of stuff there because he kind of went under right in the midst of trying to expand. So I know that there was a couple issues of Vanguard. Vanguard was
Hmm.
going to get his own book. I can't remember for the life of me the name of the guy who was drawing it, but it wasn't me. Yeah, because I moved on, and at some point, as soon as I was getting real work, I was like, "Sorry, buddy."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Took off pretty quickly.
Yeah, I just
Very,
have to. I mean,
yeah.
you're trying to make a living.
You got to keep. Yeah, you got to keep
When you,
working.
here's a question: you're
Yeah,
writing a longer arc. Do you know how it ends, or do you take it issue by issue? I usually know how it ends.
that's good.
Um,
Yeah, because
but if something better comes along, I will change it because the better idea always wins.
yeah. Um,
And I have things that I'm in my head that I'm like, I know I'm building to this.
yeah,
And there are characters that are in the book that are pure wild cards where I don't really know where I'm going with it. But
yeah. But you always manage to, you do your continuity works pretty well, and I think that's something that you appreciate in your own book. Obviously, we can't talk about
yeah,
continuity from the big two because that, they throw that out the
yeah,
window. But
yeah, that's all. It's all over the place, and that's
yeah,
the tough thing for me as a both a writer and a contributor. If I'm ever contributing to any of those things, it just becomes
mhm,
like I don't understand your universe anymore. I don't know who's in it. I don't know what their costumes look like. I don't. I'm
yeah,
completely lost with all that stuff. It's like, all right, I understand Peter's not together with Mary Jane anymore. That's all I know.
right, 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 and
you know, and I look in the book. It's like, well, there seems to be like 20 Spider-Man and 20 Venom running around. That seems like
yeah,
it's probably, but
that was an. I mean, yeah, it's hard to keep track of that stuff. That's why I like when it comes to the big two, I just try to read any limited series and stuff like that because I get my story and I get an end and I'm happy.
yeah.
If it,
I
you
mean,
know,
I kind of follow artists, so there's like I'll flip open books and be like, "Oh, Humberto Ramos is back on Spider-Man. I am there." Yeah, so
right?
I read his stuff. If Chris Pacello or I don't know how you pronounce it does anything, I want to be there for that. Um, just various guys doing various books.
Sure.
There's like a Batman Dylan Dog book that just came out. Good
Huh.
Lord, that's gorgeous. It's one of the best looking comics I've seen ever.
Huh.
It's just really unbelievably good looking. I guess it's going to be a 4-issue limited series. 2 of the issues are out. They're like double or triple sized issues, and
Oh wow.
it's just gorgeous comics.
Did
So,
you
I mean,
did you read?
sometimes you see a comic and you're like, I'm inspired to do whatever. And sometimes you get a comic where you go, oh, Jesus, what am I even doing here?
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was one of those where like, holy crap, man, I'm such a pretender. This kid's so much better than I am. What the hell? Uh,
Did you pick up Silvestri's Batman series that he did last year?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I thought that was
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah. I mean,
gorgeous.
yeah, and he worked his ass off on that forever. He was working on that thing for years before it finally came out. It's like, holy crap, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it was amazing, and yeah, that's the thing, like, I'd heard Rob talk about how and everybody was talking about how he started a while ago, and man, the payoff reading that was absolutely gorgeous. It was just so
Yeah,
gorgeous.
yeah. It's just like, holy crap.
So, so we talked last time. You had mentioned you were doing something possibly for Marvel. Is there anything you can share about that? Any updates?
I can't say anything.
Fair enough.
That's kind of how it works. I did a short story for them, so it's not going to be a lot of stuff. Just
Right.
something that's short, and they just had me do a cover for it too. So I assume it's one of those books where they get a bunch of different people to do stuff, and I happen to be one of them. So,
all right,
it's that.
Yeah, when it comes out, we'll know, I guess.
Yeah, it's like I worked on it a year ago, so
right.
It's a long time that it's been sitting there. I wrote it, penciled, inked it, and colored it. So it's all me except for the lettering, and I haven't seen it lettered yet. So we'll see how that.
Well, excited for whenever we do get to see it. Jeremy Heiler had a question: with long form storytelling and aging with the characters, do you see a full ending idea, which we kind of already discussed, and hope to get there and fill in between? And then you just want to know, do you have any manga influences or any interest in manga?
I was super into manga 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Before anything was being translated into English, I had stumbled across some stuff that was running in Weekly Champion, and there was one particular artist whose work I really liked. No idea what his name is because I couldn't read Japanese, and I just really liked it. And so what had happened was there was a Japanese bookstore that was in Seattle. My family was living up in Washington at the time. And I got a subscription to, I just was like, I'll get Weekly Jump, I'll get Weekly Champions, I'll get the monthly Jump and Champions too. I'm just going to get a subscription to these things. And I did that for about a year, and it just was practically pushing me out of my apartment because they were so big and they were coming out so fast. And they would send me a box once a month, which would be like, here's 3 feet worth of comics. Find room for this. So it was kind of intense. So after a year of that, I was like, I gotta stop getting these things because I just don't have any room in my life for them. And of course, those were all victims of the fire. So I've got some manga, all of it in the original Japanese, none of it translated. Yeah, and I've never felt the urge to get any of the translated versions of any of that stuff because I just enjoy it as pure art. So I got some in the other room. Haven't really been looking at it much lately, but early on in my stuff there was a lot of speed lines and stuff like that. So it's in the mix. It's in the mix for sure.
Right before you were on, I had a little selling block of 2 hours with Sean, Japan Book Hunter, who, Ed Pisker kind of brought him to the forefront and brought him on kayfabe a bunch. And he slings rare manga from Japan, and it's gotten me into it. And I feel the same way as you. I don't need to read the stories because they are very good at storytelling through art. It really are. Manga does that well.
Yeah, it's like City Hunter I was getting for a while. I think in terms of the manga size things, I don't know how much, I don't know how long that lasted or even if it's still going, but I've got enough of that to choke a horse. And then like there's some other title that I've got that I don't know for the life of me what the name of it is, or who draws it or anything. It's just there's this cool thing I have, and I like it, but I wouldn't even know how to go about getting issues that I don't have. So,
well, if you ever are inclined to visit japanbookhunter.com, you might be able to find it for you.
oh, all right. That might be the way to go.
Yeah, yeah. We got a question here from Simon. Can Erik tell us more about the upcoming Savage Dragon Vault Edition? Was that officially announced?
That was officially announced.
Oh wow!
What would you like to know?
I mean, so that's going to be the So we're looking at an artist.
It's the miniseries, the expanded version of the miniseries, which became, I don't know, 5 issues plus pinups and whatever.
Right.
I don't know how much. I don't know what else they promised to be in it. If there's anything else, well, we'll
do you know
put that together? I mean, so, it's if you like the way ever wanted to see what the original art looked like,
yeah,
you will see that, and you'll be able to tell that most of it was drawn on Marvel paper.
It's great. I'm hoping that they do a signed edition, because the Vault editions usually have a signed and unsigned edition. But I guess we'll find out. But I'll be definitely purchasing that whenever it comes out.
Yeah, if there's a signed one, I guess I've got my work cut out for me. This is kind of people going, we should do this thing, and I'm going, all right, and that's been my involvement in it. It's like pretty much, look, I want to make new comics. I realize that there are a lot of people who are really into the old stuff, and while I'm really happy that you guys are into this stuff, I want to make more comics. So it's been kind of this weird tug of war with me, because like putting together these ultimate collections ends up being a huge undertaking. And it's like, well, where are all these drawings, and how do I find them? And it's just such it's just so much goddamn work that I kind of like. Do these things have to come out? I mean, I don't really care, but the audience is like, no, please, we want these, and it's just
it is. It's a juxtaposition too, because you're like, you're saying this, and we're like, just take our money. We're throwing it at you.
We want these, please. We love this stuff. And I love how the back of the book has got 30 pages of pinups, and it's like, you don't know how many boxes I had to go through to find all the little pieces of stuff.
Sure.
And I'm sitting there getting the original art out and flipping over those pages and seeing what's on the back of them. It's like, I know I must have drawn something on here.
Yeah. Well, I had Allred on the program a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about, very similar to you, you guys are sharing characters. You guys have shared, Madman and Savage Dragon have teamed up, but he had everybody and their mother do a pinup of Madman in the first, 10 years of its existence.
Yeah.
I mean, when you go back and look at some of these Savage Dragons, like you got all these people. I mean, I just saw the Frank Miller one for the first time. I just happened to be flipping through. I forget what issue it is. Maybe issue 100.
100 at a bunch.
Yeah, and so it is. I'm sure it's a lot of work. And somebody had asked earlier in the chat, how much work you did on the Ultimate Edition, and I know that was like you're annoyed that you had to do all the work.
Yeah, it's way too much. And I can't really take a month off to do all this other stuff, and that's really what needs to happen, is to be able to devote a huge chunk of time to be able to get all this done. And it's like,
well, and Andy Brinning said, "Are you taking any applications for an intern?"
Yeah, my wife would not put up with that.
I understand it though. I what you're saying makes total sense. There's nothing outlandish about just wanting to do what you really want to do, which is put out new issues and enjoy that. you know?
Yeah, that's what I
But
want to do. It's just more of this, please.
so,
Ugh.
you almost prompted me to do it earlier, but I want to show you something because you're gonna really maybe you won't enjoy seeing it, even though it's yours. I recently had I recently had a couple of retailers on the channel, and two of them were Django and Jeff, who own the comics place in Bellingham,
Oh,
and that
nice.
your old haunt when it was
My old
the old
stomping
store.
grounds. Yeah.
But I went there and I got a little bit tour of the upstairs, and there is artwork there that is yours.
Oh,
And I asked them if I could share, share this with you and like talk about it. Um, they showed me some stuff, and I
oh,
hope you
good
can see
Lord.
this.
Yeah.
Um, that's
Yeah.
that's your old
That's,
Batman piece.
oh boy. Okay.
and then there's let's get give me one sec here. Let's get hopefully this isn't too embarrassing for you. I think this is an amazing piece. But we get
Yeah.
this
This is me, age probably 19.
wow. And look at that
So
curvy crackle.
yeah, I am a kid. I don't know if you can zoom in to see if you can see the date on that.
Let me see what I can do here. I should be able to. Yeah, I think it's 19 is that
80,
1981?
81. Good Lord. All
Yeah.
right.
But
So I turned 19 in 81, so I would have been 18 when I drew that. Because I have a December birthday.
mhm.
So yeah, 18 years old.
Hey, you killed it. You killed it.
Good Lord. Good
And then
Lord.
I got one more. You should contact those guys. I think they would be willing to send it back to you if you want it.
Oh wow,
And
look at that.
yeah, yeah. And that's look at that. That's old school. That's everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, that's got everybody. Good Lord. That is terrible.
I don't know. I don't know, Eric.
I
Most
mean,
people can't draw like that now.
yeah, good Lord. Spitfire is like just a beast.
But that
Oh man.
that
Yeah,
just goes
again, I'm probably 18, 19 years old.
yeah, the dates. If the oh yeah, that's 81. I can see it on the side of Red Skull's head here. You can see
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
So
that's
as you can see it, my signature is just me scribbling at that point. I didn't,
yeah,
I was,
yeah, right here.
yeah, and it got to like, oh, I should do a signature that's legible. And then that's when graphic fantasy came around. So I was probably 19. I started
Hmm.
just basically block printing my name. And
Yeah.
then as time went on, it just slowly morphed into whatever it is now.
Well, I think despite being critical of yourself from 40, whatever that was, 45 years
Yeah,
ago,
it's a long time
43 years
ago.
ago. Yeah, but it was nice to see that in person. They had some other pieces that you did, like an old Savage Dragon that was like a store sign. Um, so yeah, it was really nice to see that. But I could put you in touch with those guys if you want.
Yeah, shoot. Yeah, I should have at very least have him take a photo that's straight on so I could see just how awful it is.
um, No Name Collects wants to know if you think you'll be at Fan Expo San Francisco this year again, your hometown.
Depends when it is. I
Oh,
don't, I
okay.
don't, I don't know the dates on that. I know that the wife had some plan to go on some vacation for 2 weeks at some point. So
Hmm.
we'll see how
How
that goes.
I mean, how often do you treat yourself to like going on vacation? Obviously, we've been talking about your rigorous schedule and how much you want to get these books
Uh,
out.
yeah, I mean, mostly she'll haul me out of here. I don't seek out vacations myself. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, if she wasn't in my life, I would probably just never leave the house. Just draw comics all day long and then go to an occasional convention, and that would be my social outlet and
Right.
like that. But she's like, oh, we should do this and that. She always wanted to go wherever, wherever
Right.
it is.
You're just like, all right. Well, I mean, you live
okay,
you live the life of a
I mean,
cartoon.
I love her dearly. So
That's awesome. Yeah, that was one of those things talking to Allred about him and Laura and like how they're nerd soulmates and just soulmates in general. It was really nice to hear. All right, so
we're not that. We're very, very different. We've got very separate things. She doesn't read comics. She read stuff when she was a little girl, but they were, the comics that were for kids. So Hot Stuff and Little Dot and stuff like that. But she read like 3 issues of. She read the Dragon miniseries after it had come out, and then that was it. She hasn't read it since. I used to put her name as the editor of the book, and
that's right.
At some point, she saw one of the covers and was like, "You got to take my name out of there."
I mean,
so that was the end of that.
Kind of like very similar to Todd with Wanda. Her name was as the editor, and I think it was after the Billy Kincaid issue. She was like, "Nope, no more."
Yeah. But at least Wanda saw the inside, so
right.
How excited would 18-year-old Erik think about future Erik drawing Captain America, the end for Marvel? I'm sure 18-year-old Erik would have been ecstatic about that idea. I don't remember that drawing that 18-year-old Erik did of Captain America. So I knew we had done, there was a comic store up in Bellingham, Washington called King Arthur's Bookshop. And they had a kind of gallery area that was on one side. And so they were like, hey, let's have local artists do gallery stuff there. And a guy named Al Harris did a bunch of drawings there that in the gallery, and they were all like swipes of stuff. And I was like, God, I'm not going to swipe. I'll do original stuff. So, and then later I ended up working with him on Graphic Fantasy and with Kevin Keyes, who is another guy. And so I set down the rule early on in that book: no swiping in this book. I was like, let's keep it above board here, kids.
Right. But
so yeah, it worked out all right. It worked out all right.
It totally did. And I wanted to point out Kazra from he's part of Comic Art Fans. I agree with him. OAX, which is the original art show they did in January, is a great vacation.
Where that is. What state is that even in?
It was in Florida in January, basically right across from Universal Studios Disney area, and it was all original art. All of your friends were there. Allred was there, and and Matt Wagner was there. So, I mean, so speaking about that, you are we talked last time, big original art collector, several Herb Trimpe full issues. Are you still actively picking stuff up? Like, or are there still things that you're actively looking for?
It's too expensive. It's too crazy. Especially the old stuff that I really like. It used to be you could get an entire issue for $4,000, and now it's like maybe a page for that amount, if you're lucky. And I can't do that. I could, but then I would have to get a messy divorce, and she'd end up with all of it anyway. So what's the point?
Right. And then he would auction it off and make all of the money on it.
Yeah. And I'd be sitting there going, well, what was that all about? I've got a bunch of the stuff that I most wanted in that regard.
Mhm.
There was my first issue comic I ever bought. I ended up getting the original art for that.
Right. Hulk
And
56.
then one of my other favorite issues of the Hulk, I got that, and then a third one. So it's like I got 3 full issues of this stuff. I couldn't do better. And then when I started, I think the first Kirby comics I bought as a kid were probably Commandy.
Mhm.
So I've got some Commandy art of Jack Kirby. So there's a bunch. I mean, I think I've got 250 pages of Jack Kirby artwork.
Wow.
Something like
That-
that. Probably a little more than that, but mostly complete issues of stuff. I've got a bunch of issues of Commandy, an issue of The Losers. I've got an issue of Thor, and I've got the Eternals annual.
Wow.
So
You
it's
also
pretty cool.
Yeah, and you also have the, distinguished of being the biggest Erik Larsen art collector too.
I've got so much of his work. Yeah, kind of been the nice thing about having that is just being able to use it as trade stock for other stuff,
Right,
So
right.
if I want to get something in particular, it's like, all right, well, I can give you so many pages of this for that, and go back and forth on that.
Well, not to toot my own horn, but I did just obtain a very nice Golden Age collection. There are some Captain Marvel and Marvel Family issues. So when you put together a list, maybe we can work something out. I don't know. But I also want to tell everybody, Eric's got a art rep, Albert Moy, and his website is in the description below. So if you want to buy some of Eric's art, there's some great stuff on there, including some Spawn pages too, and some other fun stuff. There was a question here from No Name Collects. If you can go back to when you first got into the comic industry, what would you tell yourself, young Erik?
I don't know. I don't know that there is anything that I could tell myself that would have made life any easier for anybody. Yeah, I can't, because it worked out all right,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't want to be like, let me tell you something that's going to screw this whole chain of events up.
Here's one that I don't know anything about this, but is it true that Kirkman owns all of the art for the Savage Dragon miniseries?
He does, which
He does.
is why when we're doing this book, it could be like, well, you've got it all. You can do the scanning and you can put it all together, and
Right.
I'll
You can do the forward.
Just
Yeah.
whatever the hell you want to do. Yeah,
Right,
and
right.
that was raising money for something else. So I mean, it's all like, let me sell this to get this, and let's do this to
Yeah.
get that.
I mean, there's the benefits of that, like keeping your art so that, yeah, like you said, you can do deals with it, and it's
Yeah,
its own
and
currency.
I've probably gotten rid of, I don't know, 15, 20 issues over the
Oh
course
wow.
of the, so I've got a metric shit ton of it.
Yeah, it's on
Considering
that.
how many issues I've done, I've done 275 issues, and you get rid of 20 of those, like, okay. It still leaves you with 250 plus issues worth of artwork, which
Yeah, that's a
it's a
lot.
lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. Plus your collection, right? So that's
Yeah,
stacks.
and then I've got stacks and stacks of other stuff. So
I think they asked you on that Wizard podcast, but the Wolverine Wizard art, was that gone long before, or did you sell that when you
I
did?
don't
Or
know if I ever got it back. I don't know if
wow.
they bought it from me.
Yeah.
I don't really know. If I got it back, it would be destroyed or
Yeah.
gone.
That's a shame.
Yeah, I don't, it's like, yeah, I don't even know. Like I did a couple Wolverine covers. Did I get rid of those?
Yeah, I mean, right? You did Wolverine covers, you did Marvel Comics Presents, and the Defender stuff. You even
Yeah,
did a
yeah,
side.
yeah. I'm just thinking of since Image started because the Fire was
Right.
pre-Image.
Yeah.
So, like any Spider-Man stuff I did pre-Image, it's mostly gone. I think when I came back and did the book from what is it, 18 through 23 or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Those
That
all
sounds
those
about right.
all that stuff exists. All those pages exist, and they were all sold off. I didn't keep any of it. And then, yeah, the Spider-Man stuff I have now are I did a Spider-Man story. I don't remember the name of the book. Spider-Man. It had the
I know
word big in it. Getting big or
yeah, and it was
making
like
big,
it was an 80
something
page
big.
book. Yeah.
Yeah, there was I did a page for that Marvel 100 thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think I did sell that page, so
Oh, wow.
Spider-Man and the Thing in it. I don't know.
Spider-Man Going Big. That's what it was called.
Going Big. I never can remember the name of that goddamn thing.
And
It's a blind
Derek
spot.
Yeah, yeah. Derek asked, and we talked about this last time, but not everybody heard it and saw it. Nowadays, you use digital. Do you use digital to help with layouts and prelims, or do you do everything by hand?
I dabbled a bit with it a little while ago, doing digital art. I drew, and one of the issues is entirely digital. Color covers have been digital, and then pages, isolated few pages from a couple recent issues were, and then I just decided I don't like this, and so I started drawing on paper again. So I don't like the process. I don't like the tooth of the screen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a definite advantages, especially if you're using reference and you can just be like, oh, I can trace this car rather than try to draw this car.
Right.
The issue where the family relocates to San Francisco. That one is digital from front to back. The cover's digital, and every page in it is digital. But the issue after it, I'm back on paper again. And then I think 269 has a digital. That cover is digital.
Yeah.
But all the interior pages are back on paper again.
And you said to me, I remember you telling me, you said that it didn't save you any time, so what's the point?
Yeah, it didn't. All it did is eliminate my original art. It's
yeah.
Oh, I don't have anything to show for this. So,
right.
That's no good. But with those, there was a couple issues that had some original art, but not all original art. So I have just used those as, okay, well, I can sell these pages because these issues aren't complete.
Right. So you don't have to break up.
I don't like to break up complete issues because it's kind of cool to have a complete issue.
Sure.
And I've got a bunch of, complete issues myself. So
yeah, it's something I love to say.
Yeah. But I understand it's super expensive. So
oh yeah. I mean,
that's the problem with it, is finding somebody who's got enough money that they can afford to buy a full issue. But
yeah. And your artwork, like obviously we've seen the price of artwork rise in the last, in the last 5 years. And because your Spider-Man pages don't exist in that high quantity, when they do go to market, they're going crazy.
I know, they get crazy.
Crazy money. Especially because when you think about it, like you were saying, there's not a ton of your artwork out there for sale because Savage Dragon stuff, there's only handful of issues that have been sold, and then you own the rest. So it's
Yeah.
like you have to choose from what Defenders and some other stuff. If that's out there.
Yeah. Luckily, whenever I do anything else, I just sell everything. Get this out of my house.
So Jeremy wanted to know, how did Savage Dragon issue 252 come together? Would you revisit or do something like that again, off model styling and storytelling?
It's just one of those stupid ideas I had, and then I decided to go and do it. It took a while to figure out which strips to do.
Yeah.
There was an issue where I just homaged Sunday strips and did, I think, 11 different strips in the course of the book. But yeah, it was finding appropriate strips, finding stories that worked for those appropriate strips, showing. I actually did one that didn't see print.
Oh, really?
Because, yeah, I ended up doing a different strip because I made the mistake of showing it to Lynn Johnson, who did For Better or For Worse. I did a strip on that, and then she did not take it well.
Oh, wow, really?
So I ended up turning it into Rex Melvin MD or whatever it was, DDS or whatever it was. So yeah, I ended up just going, okay, rather than make it her husband who's the dentist, I'll make it Rex Morgan riff on that.
That was a...
it's always better to ask for forgiveness than ask for permission.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like an idiot. I thought, oh, she'll think this is hilarious, and she did not.
You did Kathy. Did you hear anything back from Kathy Geisweit or any of the people that are still living that were parodying?
No, the only person in any of those that I knew, Lynn Johnson was the only person I knew in the midst of all that, and that's because we went to Japan at some years back. Okay. But she and Stan Sakai and I and families went to Japan and toured the place, and had a good time. Oh well.
That was a great issue, and I'm glad that Kayfabe covered that.
Yeah,
they had a good time with it too, which was nice to see.
But yeah, it took some doing to find the right strips, and then find the stuff that worked for the strips. I also wanted to make sure that all the strips were different enough from each other style-wise. So there was some that I thought, I always liked, this strip or that strip, but I was like, I don't have a story for that. I can't pull off that style, or the audience may not even know what the hell it is. So I thought I kind of took a bit of a risk doing tumbleweeds, because it was like, I don't know that most people are going to even remember the strip, but
right.
So if you're an old school comic strip guy, you're going to be, I don't know what this new one is. And if you're a new guy, you're going to be all these old canceled strips. I don't even know what the hell those are. I didn't want to do anything that was too much like my own regular style. So I wanted to, the closest to that was just ended up being the Rex Morgan one, because that's drawn it fairly realistically.
It's a fantastic issue. It really is.
It was a huge undertaking. It took me way, way longer than any other issue.
It seems that you work hard. It's almost like you give yourself these tasks to do that you're just like, why did I do this? But the end result's great.
Yeah, no, I'm pleased with it once it's done. But yeah, what a pain in the ass. So at some point, I want to do a comic book version where I'll do like here I'm doing Jack Kirby for a page, and here I'm doing whoever else I think I might be able to pull off.
Yeah.
But even that, it's like, is this going to be different enough from what I regularly do? Am I going to be able to capture these particular artists? Who
Hmm.
the hell?
Well, you do a great job at it. We'll get to a couple more questions, but I want to let you go because you've given us a ton of your time, and I super appreciated of it. So this is actually a good question because I know you're pretty vocal about it on the internet, on threads and stuff. Is there in the general comic industry, there is concern about AI, but the second part of this question is kind of more important to me is as fans and as consumers, like what can we do to combat it, if anything?
I mean, just buy the work that you enjoy.
Yeah.
Really, what
Yeah.
it comes down to. I don't think that there is anybody in the comic book industry currently who is sitting there going, "This is a good thing."
Right.
Um, I'm not sitting here going, "Oh boy, I can't wait till AI comes along so I don't have to draw anymore." So it's not going to take over my book. I think what will you'll eventually see, and people will probably not talk about it too much, is there'll probably be guys who are going to go, I'm going to go and I'm going to describe this thing, and then I'm going to print it out, and then I'm going to ink it, and I'm
Yeah.
never going to tell anybody that I did this. you know, uh,
Yeah.
because there'll be artists who are either up against a deadline or whatever that are going to use it as a crutch. I think eventually, and I think that is kind of inevitable. And but
Yeah.
people are doing stuff now that we've got people constructing digital cities, so that hey, when Spider-Man swings over town, it can be the same city that the Hulk is jumping over.
Hmm.
We'll just use that same city, and we can, since it's a
Swap.
3D model, we can move it around. Some of the Star Wars guys are using 3D models of some of those ships.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so if you're not drawing the Millennium Falcon, and is that still cool? I don't know, kind of, because there's a bunch of stuff that you don't ever wouldn't ever have to draw again because you got 3D models of it and you can just screw things around. And
Hmm.
it's like,
Being
uh, you know,
Yeah. Going back to what you were saying about people, maybe printing out and inking over to kill deadlines. I mean, those people will be found out because they're showing up at conventions doing commissions. Well, why doesn't your
yeah.
commission
I mean
look like?
that's the
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the thing too. Is some of these guys who do work heavily digital work to begin with, where they're making models and they're tracing stuff off. Um, some of those guys can't draw for shit, and then they'll
Yeah,
show up at conventions and it'll be, "Hey, do a commission for me," and then you see the work that they do, and it's like, "Holy crap, this is horrific."
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but
And
yeah,
and Andrew's right. It's going to make having the original art in hand that more important because when you're put on
yeah,
the spot, you
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah, and it's all the original physical original art is all one of a kind of thing, which is
Hmm.
that's awesome. And as fun as it may be to monkey around with digital stuff, you don't have that. You don't have the physical artwork at the end of the day.
Hmm.
So it's
That is very
that
true.
part's is kind of a drag.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Well, I think you know, as it grows more prevalent, I think there's going to be there's going to be a lot of pushback, and hopefully, the unfortunately, because corporations rue the day, if they push back on it, like YouTube, when I upload content, it now asks me, was there any AI used to make this video? I mean, I think that's a good thing that you
Yeah.
noted. So,
Yeah.
um, I'm super appreciative of the time you gave me. We've got two, so the next issue coming out, I know you're still working on it right now.
Yeah. So I can't give you a firm date. I think it'll
Yeah.
be out. I think it'll be out next month. I know that there was a big gap in solicitation, so
Mhm.
it was like, all right, well, I've kind of delayed some of these issues anyway, so hopefully I can get back on track here.
All right.
But this particular issue had some real logistical problems, so
Yeah,
uh,
yeah. Well, we'll be here, and then we'll be looking forward to. I'm really looking forward to the next couple issues, especially after you posted that the cover of the Mickey Mouse issue, and I think that's going to be a
yeah,
lot of fun.
he's been in the last few issues, so
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
so he's in the issue I'm drawing now. He's in 270, and he'll be in 271.
yeah. And so that'll be fun. And I know you don't know when the Vault edition is coming out, but when it comes out,
I
I'll definitely.
yeah. I think whatever it's solicited for, it shouldn't be able to come out that month. I think because it's. I mean, I'm trying to be as hands off on that as
Sure.
I can be, just so that somebody who can get it done will get it done.
And since the art already is done for that book,
Yeah,
technically.
yeah. It's done. I believe it's all been scanned in. I think there may be something for me to approve, like, okay, this cover looks fine or whatever.
Sure.
But whatever, guys. I don't
Yeah,
care.
yeah. It'll be out when it's out. We'll buy it. But hopefully when it comes out, maybe I can have you back on and we can take a look and see what it looks like, and just talk about it a bit. But Erik, it's always a pleasure, and I super appreciate it. And I know that come November, you're going to probably have some more interesting material to put in Savage Dragon, maybe a cover with who knows who's going to be on it, but we're headed for an interesting shit show. Um,
Yeah,
but
it'll be fun.
yeah, yeah. But I
Yeah.
appreciate it, and I know everybody else is super appreciative to hear from you, because we all love your artwork and your storytelling, and excited to see what's coming next. So
All right.
yeah, and I'll
Well,
make sure
thanks.
that yeah, yeah, and I'll make sure that the comics place people get in touch with you and get you some pictures of that stuff, and you can talk to them about it.
All right. Okay. Well, thanks for that, and thanks for having me.
Awesome,
And
Eric.
we'll be in touch.
All right, great. Thank you so much, and everybody. Big thanks to Eric for his time, and take care of yourself, and enjoy the day.
All right, we'll do. Back to work for me.
All right,
Talk to you
bye.
later.
I had so much fun talking to Eric again, and I'm sure I'll have him back on. If you are not subscribed to the YouTube channel, I think you should, because he has that Vault edition for Savage Dragon coming out, and I plan to ask him if he would join me while we flip through it on the YouTube channel. Won't translate too well to a podcast. Thank you again for listening, and if you haven't rated this podcast, all you have to do is find where you're listening to it and rate it. Or if you're listening to this on YouTube, hit the like button, drop a comment. Spotify and Apple are iHeartRadio, Google, all those places you can drop a rating. That'll be it for this week. Thank you so much once again. This has been another episode of the Savage Direct Edition.